The night the window stayed open. My daughter's double life next door. I always took pride in being an observant mother. I knew my daughter's favorite songs, her favorite snacks, and I knew that her Saturday morning routine was to sleep in until noon. So, when I went into her bathroom last weekend to change the trash bin, I wasn't looking for secrets. I was just being a mom. But there, buried under some tissues, was something that made my heart stop. A pregnancy test. Then another. Both were staring back at me with two bold, life-changing pink lines. My daughter, Sophie, is 17. She's the girl who spends her Friday nights reading or painting. She's never mentioned a boy, never asked to go to a party, and never stayed out past 10. I sat on the floor, the cold tiles chilling my skin, holding those plastic sticks and trying to breathe. How? When? My mind went through every student in her class, every friend she'd ever mentioned. Nothing fit. It felt like I was living in a nightmare where the math simply didn't add up. I didn't wait. I couldn't. I went straight to her room. She was sitting at her desk, sketching something in her notebook. When she saw the tests in my hand, she didn't deny it. She didn't even look surprised. She just closed her notebook and let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for months. "Who is he, Sophie?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Is it someone from school? Why didn't you tell me? We could have helped you." She looked at me with eyes that seemed 20 years older than they were. She walked over to her bedroom window, the one that looks out over the narrow alleyway between our house and the Millers next door. She pulled back the curtain and pointed. "He didn't have to take me out on dates, Mom. He was already here. The Millers have a son, Leo. He's 19, a quiet boy who always helped his dad mow the lawn. Our houses are so close that the rooflines almost touch." As Sophie started to talk, the world I thought I knew began to crumble. "It started last summer," she whispered. "It was so hot, and we both had our windows open. We started talking across the gap. Just talking at first. Then, one night, he dared himself to climb across. There's a narrow ledge, and the distance is barely 4 feet. He just hopped over. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. Every night for the past year, while I was downstairs locking the front door and checking the porch lights, the quiet boy from next door was scaling the side of my house. He wasn't a stranger, he was the kid I'd given cookies to when he was 10. They had timed everything. They knew when I went to bed, they knew when my husband started his early shift at the hospital, and they knew which floorboards in Sophie's room creaked. "We would just sit here and talk for hours," Sophie continued, her voice gaining a strange, defiant strength. "He made me feel seen. While you were busy planning my perfect future at some Ivy League college, Leo was the only one asking me what I actually wanted." The betrayal felt like a physical weight. I thought of all those nights I walked past her closed door, thinking, she's such a good kid, she's in there studying. In reality, she was living an entire secret life just 5 feet away from my own bed. I walked to the window and looked out. I saw the ledge. It looked so dangerous, so reckless. One slip and he would have fallen 20 feet onto the concrete below. The desperation of it, the secrecy of it, it felt like a movie, but the 2 pink lines in my hand were very real. I didn't scream. I went to the phone and called the Millers. The conversation that followed was the most painful hour of my life. Both families sat in our living room, the air thick with shock and resentment. Leo sat next to Sophie, reaching out to hold her hand right in front of us. His parents were just as blindsided as we were. They thought their son was a homebody who loved video games. They had no idea he was a night climber, a shadow in the dark. "I'm not sorry," Leo said, looking my husband in the eye. "I love her. We didn't plan for this to happen, but we aren't going to hide anymore. The fallout has been a slow-motion explosion. Our neighbors look at us differently. The perfect house now feels like a cage. We had to install a security system, not to keep burglars out, but to alert us if a window opens. The trust is gone, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. Sophie is still here, her belly slowly growing, and she spends her evenings staring out that same window. Leo isn't allowed on our property, so they spend hours just looking at each other from across the alley, two kids separated by 4 feet of air and a mountain of broken trust. I look at her and I realize I didn't know my daughter at all. I was so focused on the girl I wanted her to be that I never saw the girl she actually was, the girl who was waiting for a shadow to climb through her window every night at midnight. My heart is broken, not just because of the pregnancy, but because of the realization that you can live under the same roof as someone and be total strangers. The window is locked now, but the damage is done. We are no longer the perfect family. We are just people living in a house full of secrets, waiting for a future we never asked for.